What do you get when you mix one stubborn man, 3 ex-wives, and a camera crew asking real questions?
Apparently a tantrum, because Kody Brown came into this one-on-one interview ready to pout, deflect, and dodge like a toddler in timeout.
We're breaking down all the awkward pauses, the I don't knows from Robyn, and how Kody went from ignoring Meri for years to suddenly crying about their marriage and still grieving it months later.
If you've ever wanted to see a cultural deep dive into how polygamy, pride, and poor communication collide, this episode is for you. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Sam.
And I'm Melissa.
I was raised in a family with 4 moms and 35 kids. We were members of the FLDS Church, which is a polygamous group run by their prophet Warren Jeffs, who is now serving a life sentence in prison.
I was raised mainstream LDS in Utah. Sam and I have been married for 10 years and have 2 awesome kiddos.
Yes, we do. And today we're back at it with Sister Wives one-on-one, where they get back into all the nitty-gritty of this season.
This is part 2, and thanks to all of you in the comments, because our first video, I thought there was only going to be 2 parts, and then everyone was like, there's going to be 4. You guys, 4 parts for this. I don't know if this is what we asked for, but this is what we've gotten, and we're going to get into it. Oh my gosh. Every single episode, though, I'm like, we're rehashing so many things, and there are things that I just keep thinking over and over, like, this was still just this season, because it feels like we're rehashing like so far in the past, like so far.
Yep. But it does give us an opportunity to get into a lot of nitty gritty and to see Suki say, but are you sure? Tell me more about that. How do you really feel? So she's not letting them off the hook. I love this bit of the episode where Kody was staring at Suki because he didn't want to answer it. And she says, oh, you want to do a stare down? Because I can stare right back at you.
Yeah, it really
it
did.
Was funny.
There were moments where it felt like she was trying to wrangle a toddler. And when he's like, well, I don't have to answer. And she's like, yes, you do. Like, you do have to do this interview. And I seriously wonder if after this one, I've never seen him so... I don't know what the word is, like, not just offensive, but I'm like, is he going to be like breaking his contract by being this much into like, oh, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about this. I'm going to sit there in awkward silence and just stare and just wait for the next question. I'm like, there has to be a certain line of like, they have to do this. It's part of their contract. They make so much money doing this show, which is apparent that like Robyn's only there because she has to for the money, right? Because she's not really offering any insight. She's saying, I don't know, to basically every question. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. You'd have to ask them.
It got to the point where whenever Suki asked Robyn a question, Melissa said, let me guess. I don't know. I don't know. So, but it's pretty clear though that they have a lot of power over Kody, because he says, I don't have to answer that, or I don't want to answer your question, or I don't have to. And Suki says, yes, you do. And then he kind of like starts chuckling, like, oh yeah, no, you're right. I kind of do have to respond to these, or he said, I can just be quiet.
Well, I can just sit here and not answer it.
And that's where Suki said, oh well, yeah, you can act like a little baby and ignore me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it felt like. It was like, you're here to answer these questions. These are the questions. And like, I don't feel like she's giving particularly hardball questions. These are the same questions that everybody's had. They are so like, I could see being like, wow, I'm so tired of talking about this because I've answered the same question so much. Which, like, okay, I get that, but you still have to do it for this. But then to just try to ignore the questions completely, I'm like, you know these are coming. I don't know. It just seems crazy. But let's get into what those were instead of talking about how irritating it was. So it started off where the last episode left off, which was talking about the cultural significance of Kody failing in these marriages. And Janelle gets into the fact that especially in their religion that practices plural marriage, how important it is that the man is taking care of each relationship individually. And she talks about the fact that it's not meant to be equal. It's supposed to be appropriate, right? So you're splitting your time appropriately. Yep. You are giving each relationship what they need, but plural marriage is so much on the man, but that's always the way that it's preached, that it's hard on the women because of jealousy and it's hard on men because of the responsibility. And you're supposed to become, as Janelle said, more than what you are.
Right. You kind of have to, and it's preached that you need to be better than the average person because you need to put the jealousy behind you. And as a man, you need to be able to give the wives, the women, enough attention that none of them feel like you are picking favorites, which has been brought up so many times by both Janelle and Christine, and even Meri in some cases, that Kody was picking favorites, and it was very obvious to them. If it's that obvious that you're picking favorites to all the other women and all the other wives in this relationship, clearly he was doing something wrong, which he even admits at this point. He kind of goes back and forth where he will admit, oh yeah, you're right, I was doing things a certain way, and then he'll go back on that and say, no, it's not my fault, it was their fault. But he will even admit sometimes, depending on the day that it is, that he did give more attention to Robyn because he felt a deeper love and connection with her over the other women. It was he found his true love. So he even will admit that.
Sometimes.
Depending on the day.
Well, yeah. And then in this episode, at one point, and I can't say all we've looked for, but like a huge thing is just Kody's lack of accountability, where he wants to continue to blame the wives and that he's not a failure, that everybody's failing, all this. And then in this episode, Suki kind of pushes him and he's like, what does everybody want? Do they want me to say, I understand that it's both sides and it was my fault too, and it's both of our faults? Do they want me to say this? Do they want me to say that? Do they want me to say this? Is that what they all want? There you go. And she's like, actually, yeah, because that was you taking accountability. That is what they're looking for. But he didn't say it sincerely. He was being so flippant about it, saying like, is that what everyone wants from me? And it's like, yeah. Actually, people just want you to take accountability for the part that is your part, instead of saying, they left me, there was no love, they did other things wrong, I never, like, his only accountability that he's taken is when he tries to throw their relationships completely under the bus and say, well, I never really loved them. It's like, that's not taking accountability. That's like making you look even worse by saying you should have never been in those relationships in the first place.
Well, it's making...
But like, that's as close as he can get.
Yeah, it's making him look worse.
Yeah.
That he got into this to begin with. But on top of that, after all of the history and all of the time and children that they have together, to say something like that is just so hurtful that he clearly hasn't gotten to a point that he's actually taken accountability, because he's still hurting them by saying these things.
Yeah. Well, and Janelle said that she's like, I've never seen him through all these years of marriage be so mean. That the things that he's saying are just so mean, and he's like trying to actively hurt them, right? Yeah. And she was like, it just is weird that that's how it was, and how it turned into this where he just stopped caring about the other wives. He stopped caring about putting in that effort. And, you know, there is the sense of, like you said, there's so much responsibility given and pressure put on the man to make the marriages work. Christine was like, in this religion, in the AUB, when a man loses 3 wives, it's on him. Mm-hmm. And that is a lot of pressure. And it's a perfect example of why plural marriage tends to not work out, right? There is that pressure. But also the way he handled the end of it while it was falling apart is the part that's like, take accountability and say, I was tired. I didn't want to do this anymore. I pushed my wives away, and I wasn't kind or equal to them, instead of just being mean and trying to push them away, trying to make it look like they left so that he can be relieved of the responsibility that he never wanted.
Yep, exactly. And Kody, what I've seen here as I've watched this is that a lot of the things he will do is, well, he uses a lot of blaming. Mm-hmm. He blames this person for that and this wife for that, and it's their fault because they did this. And a lot of the hurtful things that the women are saying, or the wives are saying, are just them trying to simply give a reason for why they had to leave, for why they had to do this, or why they got to this conclusion. Instead of just, blaming everyone else. All of the other wives have taken accountability in saying, yes, I'm not perfect. I wasn't a perfect person, but I tried. And Christine did even mention in this episode, I gave it my all. Kody has never said that about the relationship with Christine. He has said things like, I wasn't attracted to her.
Mm-hmm. I never loved her.
I was kind of forced into the marriage, And
I tried to elevate her up to my relationship with Robyn.
So you can't really feel bad for the guy when he's sobbing in Meri's arms, saying, "Oh, we had something so special." You just kind of think, you why would you make her go through that after hurting her so many times and breaking her heart so many times?
Well, and the fact that I know that these one-on-ones were filmed, like I think people said like last October, right? So these are old, but still the fact that she said that he had recently called her like a couple weeks before that saying, I'm grieving the loss of our marriage. Because when we were watching back the clips with them, Meri even admitted, yeah, when Kody was saying like, we had something special, right? She even admitted that in that moment, she wasn't quite sure if she was confused, we all were, but of whether or not he meant like their relationship, their marriage had something special, or like the family altogether was something special, right? So it left this confusion of like not fully understanding. Maybe he was grieving the whole family. Maybe this was the final straw, which I think we had even talked about. Like it seemed like there was something more than just obviously him being sad about the whole Meri situation, because that didn't fully make sense. So then for him to call her like a couple weeks before the one-on-one and say, I'm grieving the loss of our marriage. Excuse me? The loss of our marriage. And I was so proud of Meri when she was like, you don't get to say that to me. Yeah. Like, you don't get to say that. It's okay for you to grieve, but you need to grieve. Like, that needs to be on you.
On your own terms.
On your own terms.
Without bringing me into it.
Yeah, exactly. Because trying to put that on her, the loss of a marriage that wasn't a marriage and everything that he put her through, the fact that she is so, like, gracious and willing to even be friendly with him in the first place is... He's so lucky to begin with that she's doing that. And so the fact that he would try to drag her into whatever his emotions about their marriage were, so frustrating. I was totally with Christine, where it's just like, why are you doing that to her? And then, I mean, we had to watch back him and Meri moving. Right? The whole moving scene.
And Nathan pushing her into him.
Oh my gosh.
I think they blew
that blown up.
Way out of proportion.
It's so dumb.
It didn't seem like it was...
Like, she's laughing. He's like, it was very sexual. I'm like, oh my gosh. She was like pushed into you. You were married to her for like almost 30 years.
Like, I get that it would be awkward. I do get that it would be awkward.
Hands down.
It would be funny. It would be all of these things. But to bring up this big discussion about, I mean...
It was inappropriate.
She just bumped into him. It's not like it was, hey, let's go make out over in the corner here.
She wasn't twerking on him.
Yeah, it was a quick, like, you know, we all bump into someone accidentally once in a while. It doesn't mean I have to come home and confess to my wife that I had feelings for someone because I brushed across them in a crowd or something, right? Like, like it was just, I mean, I get the situation is weird that they used to be married. Nathan was out, was maybe out of line in this situation, but it was meant to be a joke, not a whole serious, hey, you know what, maybe we still can work this thing out or something.
I don't know. She got pushed into me in the moving van, and her body against mine all of a sudden made me realize that we were meant to be together. Like, it's so dumb. Like, it's just so silly how blown out of proportion it was. And the fact that the word inappropriate so many times, and I'm like, it seems like they were grasping at straws to try to make it a big deal. Kody was definitely feeling like he had to emphasize how inappropriate and sexualized it was, I think, to cover his butt with his wife, to make sure Robyn wasn't uncomfortable. Although even Robyn, this was another dumb thing. I'm like, okay, let's all pretend like we're Robyn for a second. I know it's tough. Stay with me. So we're Robyn for a second. If she is being sincere when she has been talking for years about how she wants Kody and Meri to reconcile, okay, if she's really sincerely wanting that, meaning reconciliation with all these wives would mean him sleeping with all of them, right? That's what would happen in plural marriage. And she sincerely wants reconciliation. You're going to tell me that after all of those years of begging for reconciliation, she wouldn't be able to laugh at that situation. So when they asked her, like, did it make you feel uncomfortable? I honestly had like a tiny glimmer of hope for Robyn. Like, she's going to be like, of course not. Like, they've been married for this many years. It was just a funny accident. Like, that's what I was expecting. I don't know. Like I get it. I don't know. Like, they were married, but they're not like
much at all throughout this episode.
But it could have so easily been like, no, I wanted them to be doing that years beforehand. Like, she could have made a funny joke, and I get that that's not Robyn's personality, but I'm like, if you sincerely wanted them to reconcile, if you couldn't laugh about just a quick, funny, awkward incident, then I think there's more behind closed doors as to why Kody had to make sure in all the interviews that he talked about how inappropriate it was and how it made him so uncomfortable. And that though it was funny, he had to consider that his body belongs to Robyn now.
He actually said that, didn't he?
Yeah, that's what he said.
He said, my body belongs to Robyn.
I had to get myself into the place where my body belongs to Robyn. And again, it was just like a bump into. It wasn't like there was more to it. So I think Robyn's reaction and trying to say, I don't know, was a little bit telling, because her lack of admitting that it was funny and seeming like it wasn't a big deal spoke her I don't know spoke louder than anything else she could have said.
Yeah, and I don't know. I honestly, as I was watching this and thinking back on all of the seasons before and all of the episodes in this season, I just don't know that I buy that Robyn actually wanted them to reconcile and be together. I don't buy it. I have a feeling that she is saying certain things for the show to make it seem like that's what she wants, but based on what I've seen, I don't know that I can buy that she actually wanted that. No,
and I thought it was interesting when they were talking about Janelle and Kody's talk where they couldn't talk anymore, and Kody shut her down because she was he kept saying, well, she was bringing in Robyn into it and needed to be about our relationship. And when you watch the clip back, that's not what, she wasn't trying to drag Robyn into the situation. She was saying, hey, you brought up a conversation that was between Robyn and me that shouldn't have been brought up. And when she's trying to address that issue, not like, oh, I'm just bringing up Robyn's name out of nowhere. Hey, I said something to Robyn that you shouldn't have even heard about. How did you hear about that? Because that means that there's a breaking of trust between the sister wives and breaking of trust between her and him. And he's not willing to discuss that issue. That's different than wanting to gossip about a different sister wife. That was like a real issue that would have needed to be resolved in order for them to move forward. So him breaking it down, I'm like, she was not the instigator of trying to bring up Robyn. Obviously, Robyn was talking to Kody about Janelle. And apparently she was allowed to talk about Janelle, right?
Yeah.
Or else Kody wouldn't have had that information.
Yeah, the Kody definitely has become very protective, I guess, of Robyn's feelings.
Yeah, but that was years before too.
Right. But he is, so one of them even mentioned that they feel that he is trying to take the blame for everything to leave Robyn out of it, which I guess is cool, that, he's trying to protect her if it was a normal situation.
Yeah.
But the problem is that he's trying to not allow anyone to speak her name, even though it's not that they're trying to bring her up. It's the fact that she is intertwined in why he did what he did and abandoned and treated these other women so poorly is because of Robyn.
Yeah.
So she's kind of in the middle of it no matter what. They're not just trying to bring her name up and drag her name through the dirt. They're trying to get to the bottom of their issue, which involves Robyn.
Yeah, it's like he's involving Robyn so much in his decisions towards the other wives. So he's the one that's dragging Robyn into the other relationships, and then he's getting mad when they acknowledge that she was a part of it.
Yeah.
And
it's confusing.
It's a lot. It's frustrating. It's so hard to watch. The last thing that they really focused on was talking about Kody meeting David. And again, I felt like it was just grasping at straws a little bit. Like they were like, oh, my face didn't get red. Who cares whether or not your face got red? They all admitted it was just fine. I feel like even the questions for it were just kind of dumb. Like, oh, well, why did you say that it was changing everything up? How'd that make you feel? That Christine said that it changed everything up now that you were coming. And Robyn was like, well, it does, because that's how divorce works. And it was awkward. Like, I don't know. Again, I was like, that was like a clip where I just feel like they tried to drag it out for the drama, and there really just isn't that much to it. Like, of course it's awkward. If you haven't spoken in 2 years, this is your ex, you're there for the first time, getting together, meeting a new boyfriend, having a family interaction at an engagement party. Like, there's all these things. I'm like, that would be awkward probably for most people who are divorced. And They tried to drag a little bit out of it, whether or not Kody and David were going to do a boys trip or go on a double date. I was kind of surprised that Christine said that she would go on a double date eventually with them, or that she wants to be at that point.
And when that was brought up to Kody at the very end of this episode, would you be willing to do this? Because Christine said that she would. That's where the stare down began. And that's where Kody basically said, no, there's too much between us that he wouldn't really be able to forgive her fully, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. But his stare down was like, he was so weird. Again, it was like, I don't want to answer this question. I'm going to think. I'm going to think long and hard. And I mean, granted, Kody doesn't normally think a very long time before he speaks. So you got to give him some props for that. But then he just wasn't saying anything, like hoping like, oh, maybe if I just don't talk, she'll forget that I'm here and I can disappear and just kind of like fade away into the couch. Like, I don't know what he was going after there. But his lack of wanting to...
I think he was trying to prove that he doesn't have to answer the question. I can just ignore the question.
My contract says I have to sit here for my allotted time, but I don't have to give you anything useful. And we're like, yeah, we're all feeling that right now as you're awkwardly staring. And I'm just so glad that she kept staring at him. And then she like re-asked her question. I was like, you go, girl.
Yeah, Suki's doing a good job, definitely trying to get to the bottom of things, because it would be easy to just move on with the short answers or the avoiding of the answers that Kody specifically and some of the other people are doing. But Suki's digging. She's, asking follow-up questions, which is nice to see.
I do feel like, though, I do have to say, I can't believe we have to do... Not we have to, but you guys know what I mean. You all that are watching this. 2 more episodes of this where I feel like so much of it is just rehashing what they already hashed out or what they already said in the one-on-one interviews during each episode. When we're watching these replays, yes, she's asking questions, but I feel like we're not getting a whole lot of new insight. Like in the beginning seasons, it was like all this stuff happened and then we were getting all this insight of what happened behind the scenes,
right,
or how they were all really feeling about it. And now it just doesn't feel the same, but it's dragged out for so much longer. We're seeing the same clips where they all responded and then the women, like everybody's just like, yep, that's how it was. Yep, it was awkward. Yep, I don't know. No, I'm not going to answer. I don't really have anything more to say on that. It just feels like we're not getting anywhere. So even, it doesn't matter what Suki asks. We're not getting any deeper. And having to watch them be like this for 2 more episodes, y'all.
Yeah, it's entertaining to see their reaction to the questions, and they're trying to avoid questions, which I guess is giving some insight to certain things.
I guess that's true.
But I guess we'll never know if Kody's face turned red when he first met David.
That's just his complexion. That's just
because
his complexion.
according to Robyn, yes, it was Robyn. According to Robyn, it's just how he looks. He always has a red face. Have you ever met Kody? He just has a red face. No, I have not. I've only ever seen him on camera where he's wearing makeup. So I don't know. Maybe it's the blush, or maybe it's his natural complexion. But I guess we'll never know.
And again, it's just so silly. Like, whether or not he was red, wasn't red, like, even, I don't know. It just seems silly. David wasn't trying to come up with some big lie by being like, oh, yeah, and then he got a little red when it was like that. Like, why would David even lie about that? Like, it's just, I see no reason why it even needed to be a big deal or re-brought up to begin with. It was like, oh, yeah, that was a little awkward, mean, but no, we're cool. They seem nice.
Yeah.
Let's move on, guys.
Moving on.
What
else can we talk about in this next 2 episodes? So we'll see what comes up.
I think the only thing that they teased that I was like, oh, we'll see if we can get more than an I don't know, is when Robyn was talking about whether or not she would ever be open to plural marriage again, which I feel like every other time we've seen her talk about it, it's been total like clickbait. Oh, we're going to get to hear more. And then there's nothing really exciting. So I'm feeling hopeful and also not hopeful at all. Yeah. We're going to get some kind of new information.
Hopefully, yeah. She did. We don't even want to get into this too much because it's what will be in the next episode. But she did give a very interesting answer, which we're very excited to get into for next week's episode.
Her answering anything felt really exciting. I was like, well, we might get an answer. So let us know what your favorite question that they asked, or if there's anything that you felt like was a new revelation during this episode, or that you hadn't ever heard before. Or do we feel like we're just hearing the same things that we've already heard throughout the season, and we're like ready to move on to season 20. Let us know in the comments.
Yes. Thank you all so much for being here with us again, and we look forward to talking with you soon.
Talk to y'all soon. And Janelle was talking about the fact that in plural families, especially, and that if those marriages don't work out, it is looked down upon by, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Sorry.
I can guess.
Okay, hang on.
Got a pretty good idea.
Let me start over. Okay, hang on. Okay, sorry. I don't even know. Okay. Okay. And Janelle's talking about that, especially with.
Blah, 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 blah.
Okay. No, I know what I'm trying to say. I just can't say it. Okay. Oh my gosh.
Okay, let's see how good I can go from putting the face
Janelle.
back to where I was before I started laughing.
Okay.